24 past the hour this morning, new developments in the investigation into the fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Just in the last hour, NBC News learned of a new petition filed by suspect Luigi Mangione in which he says he is being illegally imprisoned. This, as investigators say, they recovered a notebook from Mangione where he allegedly details plans to target a CEO at a conference, writing that a gun was preferable to a bomb so others wouldn't be harmed. Joining us now, NBC's Valerie Castro, who is outside the prison where the suspect is being held in Pennsylvania, and Kirk Burkhalter, a retired NYPD detective, now a law professor at New York Law School. So, Valerie, what does this petition say, and what else are we learning this morning?
Hey, good to be with you, Jose. That petition is for a writ of habeas corpus. Essentially, it seems as though his defense attorney is arguing that he is being unlawfully detained or imprisoned illegally, saying that there is not enough evidence to continue holding Mangione here in Pennsylvania, arguing that he should have been given some sort of bail. Of course, we know he is currently being held without bail, and his attorney indicated that he was not very happy with that decision by the judge. So this will potentially lead to some sort of court hearing, although that hasn't been scheduled just yet. But the NYPD announcing yesterday that they do believe there is enough evidence in this case linking Mangione to the scene of the crime. They say that the gun that he was found to have been carrying when he was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, matches shell casings that were found at the scene of the shooting. And police also mentioned fingerprints that were found from a recovered water bottle and protein bar wrappers that were discarded. Those were purchased at a Starbucks on the day of the shooting, very close to the scene. And they now say the fingerprints on those discarded items do match Mangione's fingerprints. So NYPD at least gathering more evidence and certainly comfortable enough in putting it out there to say that he is so far linked to the shooting in Midtown Manhattan. Jose?
Kirk, I want your thoughts on what you make of the evidence that's been revealed so far. And the whole issue of this whole gun, we remember that in the first hours after the shooting in the city, in New York City, authorities said that they were able to get back either three shell casings and 3 unused bullets. Isn't that, forensically speaking, when you find a gun, a quick process?
Yes, it pretty much is. I mean, this is very strong evidence. We already know that the bullets that were recovered at the scene, I believe those that were not used, match the weapon that he had on him when he was arrested in Pennsylvania. So also his fingerprints are at the scene from the water bottle. There's a lot that connects him to the scene. And this seems somewhat pro forma, but is absolutely not, because he is innocent until presumed guilty. The prosecution has to prove all the elements of the crime, which a major part is placing him at the scene of the crime.
With this much video evidence, I mean, I guess you have to confirm and tie, right, that video of the person who actually pulled the trigger, killing this gentleman, to the person who is now in custody. But there seems to be a lot of video evidence here.
Yes, there certainly is. And that's the type of evidence that also puts him at the scene of the crime and also leads him away from the scene of the crime and where he was apprehended. So this video evidence is also going to be important should he claim that he is not guilty by reason of insanity. To be brief, one has to show that they would have to prove that they did not understand the nature and consequences of their actions, or what they were doing was wrong by some mental disease or defect. One way to overcome that argument is when someone eludes capture, leaves the scene of the crime. Why does one do so? Because they know that they are going to be chased by the authorities. So all of this evidence is extremely important. Juries like to see all the loose ends tied up. And there is a lot of evidence that's mounting against him at this particular point in time.
And Kirk, as a retired NYPD detective, how did you see those 5 days that happened, that actually passed between the crime being carried out and then this person being spotted by not police officers, but rather someone that worked at McDonald's and someone who was at the McDonald's?
So what we saw was very interesting, Jose. That's a great question. What we saw was the face of modern law enforcement, the scrubbing of all types of video data and other types of social media data and so forth in order to trace someone's footsteps. This enabled the police department, the authorities, to put out all these photographs of this individual. There came a point where I just honestly believed that someone was going to notice him. I was actually surprised that someone did not notify the authorities a little bit earlier, meaning a friend or family member. But once that was done, it was pretty certain he was going to be captured. But like I said, this is the face of modern law enforcement. These technological investigative steps are really important, and we see how effective they are.
And Valerie, meanwhile, authorities claim they've seen pages of writings from this suspect. What do his words reveal about his state of mind?
Yeah, Jose, initially we heard about a 3-page handwritten document attributed to Mangione. But since then, 2 senior law enforcement sources familiar with the case have also confirmed a notebook that was found on Mangione when he was arrested containing various writings seeming to target a CEO. One of those writings in particular saying, "What do? You whack the CEO at the annual parasitic bean counter convention. It's targeted, precise, and it doesn't risk innocence." We're told those writings also go on to detail the preference of using a gun versus something like a bomb or some sort of explosive that would have the potential to kill more people besides the intended target.